Good morning. Welcome to Reading the Science of Mind, a philosophy of faith, a way of life in 1 year. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader at the Center for Spiritual Living Common Ground in Central Maryland. Today is January 5th. Let's see what we're reading this morning. Let me plug that in. There we go. So this morning we're reading from page 26, paragraph 6, through page 28, paragraph 3. The universe never plays favorites. We are so used to the thought that if we mix certain colors, we get certain other colors, that we do not realize we are dealing with a principle. We know that whatever blends these particular colors will get the same results, but we do not know why. The wisest person living does not know why. We do not have to stretch our credulity anymore in metaphysics. We think of metaphysics, perhaps, as something that only the most profound thinkers have known about. But we should remember that we are also thinkers. The profound thought of all ages has stood in awe of life itself, realizing that here is a power and potentiality, the highest possibilities of which the human intellect cannot fathom. Universal principles are never respecters of persons. The universe has no favorites. Therefore it is written, "And let them that is athirst come, and whosoever will, let them take the water of life freely." Let us then approach the science of mind, the science of spiritual psychology, with awe, but without fear, with truly a humble thought, but not with a sense that we are unworthy. Let us approach it normally, happily, willing to accept, glad to experiment, hoping and believing that as the result of our efforts we shall each derive a greater good, a sound understanding of the natural laws of life as they apply to the individual and their relationship to the whole universal scheme of things. This is the simple meaning of true metaphysical teaching, the study of life and the nature of law, governed and directed by thought, always conscious that we live in a spiritual universe, that God is in, through, around, and for us. There is nothing supernatural about the study of life from the metaphysical point of view. That which today seems as supernatural, after it is thoroughly understood, will be found spontaneously natural. We all know that many have healed of physical disease through prayer. Let us analyze this. Why are some healed through prayer while others are not? Can we believe that there is a God who picks out some people and says, "I will honor your prayer, but I don't think so much of so-and-so"? It is superstitious to believe that God will answer the prayer of one above another. Jesus said that God maketh the sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. Some people have been healed through prayer while others have not. The answer is not that God has responded to some and not others, but that some have responded to God more than others. Their prayer, their thought, has responded by corresponding. The answer to prayer is in the prayer. But what is prayer? A prayer is a movement of thought within the mind of the one praying. along a definite line of meditation that is for a specific purpose. What is mind? No person living knows. We know a great deal about the mind, but not what it is. By mind, we mean consciousness. We are now using it. We cannot locate mind in the body, for while the body is a necessary vehicle for consciousness, while we are here, it is not consciousness. We cannot isolate mind. All we know about it is not what it is, but what it does. And the greatest philosophers who ever lived knows no more than this, except that they may tell us more of how it works. And so that's a lot to take in, and yet it's pretty simple. In science, consciousness, I believe, is what we're referring to as the quantum field. It is the energy. And the challenge for our human brain is that it's unseen. And we have this amygdala that establishes our sense of safety, our sense of well-being in physical form based on what it can see, what it can verify, what it can prove. And so the invitation to all of us is to prove metaphysics, to move consciousness through our thought, through our belief, through our emotional energy that we invest in it to manifest it, to understand that we are consciousness in form, and so there's no separate power outside of us. And that can be really complicated because sometimes we can get lost in treating consciousness like a vending machine and to actually participate in it in safety. And that's where the concept of law comes in. The most obvious one to use is gravity. Gravity is a law, and it doesn't matter what or who, it applies the same to all of us, right? Gravity is going to be gravity, and gravity is going to do what gravity does. And law is the same way. And so we are consciousness in form. Consciousness creates, manifests, expresses by desire. And then we'll learn in later readings that our job is to pay attention to the desire of how creation, consciousness, wants to express and attend to that. Give that our focus, give that our energy, and then to listen and pay attention to the path that is laid out before us and actually take it even when we're not 100% sure where it's going. And that's the activity of faith. If we want to experience an amazing relationship, then we act as if we're already in that relationship. And we imagine ourselves walking on the beach with that individual. We imagine ourselves sharing our life with that individual. And sure enough, that individual will show up because energy attracts energy. We can't just want it and wish it and make no effort to participate in the unfolding of it. So that's what this reading brings alive in me. I would love to hear or see what it brings alive in you. So invite you to share in the comments on whatever platform you're using, and we will circle back and begin a dialogue if you choose. And if not, then I encourage you to wrestle with these concepts on your own terms, because that's the beauty of it. We all get to take it apart and put it back together, and take it apart and put it back together until we understand it in whatever way works for us. So I'm going to take us into our time of meditation and contemplation. It's simply a 5-minute practice of being present with whatever is, whatever comes. Running a little bit late this morning because I had to take my wife to work because her battery is kaput. So here we go. Get that out where I can put my timer on. And so in this moment, I follow my breath inward, deeper, to have a higher awareness of the consciousness that I am. Recognizing that there is just this one power that is everywhere present. Having no beginning, it can have no end, and so I know it to be eternal. Being present, no point of beginning, it can have no end, and so I know it to be self-existent, simply existing as itself, within itself, expressing itself. Known by many, many names, I recognize that it is unnameable, because to name it is to limit it, and it is without limits. It expresses itself in multiplicity, expanding its expression of itself, expanding its experience of itself, and yet never separate from itself. And I am that in form. I am a desire of the infinite beingness of life, the ground of all being, the substance of all being, desiring to know itself as this life that I'm living, creating this amazing container called a body that the infinite expressing as me travels in. And what is true of me must be true of all in the truth of one. And so every person, thing, animal, vegetable, mineral, every cosmos, and all of the invisible everything that form lives within, all of it is consciousness expressing. And knowing that we are each made out of it, by it, to expand it, I claim and affirm an awareness of the desire of creation to express itself as its individualized self. I claim and affirm that consciousness within me is nudging itself forward into greater expressions through desire within me to experience. And I say yes to being that experience. I say yes to being aware. Yes to seeing and hearing and intuitively knowing the path that is laid before me. I say yes to living from faith. I give up the requirement to see it in order to know it, understanding that I will experience it when I know it. That knowing brings it into experience, into form. And I am grateful for that activity of law that responds the same to everybody, to everything. That activity of doing within this triune nature of creation that simply receives the desire and, using the infinite possibility and substance of creation itself, makes it happen. Makes it happen in ways that the human me can never imagine. that are beyond my human capacity. And yet I experience it every day. And so I celebrate that activity of law. I celebrate that it responds to all alike, bringing each of us closer and closer into alignment with its divine self, clearing away every thought, every idea that is out of alignment with the truth of being, because this infinite, one of the laws is it cannot act against itself. And that we have the power of choice. The human agenda is sometimes out of alignment with spiritual truth, and law makes that available to see and to know and to shift. And so in the reciprocity of manifesting, I receive, open-mindedly receive and accept that everything mirrored back to me is the activity of thought expressing. And I let go of any sense of separation between my thought and another's thought, and simply receive it in the wholeness of creation itself, in the wholeness of one body. And I continuously release all thoughts of limitation, release all ideas of lack, release all fear and doubt, and return to that faith, the substance of things not seen, the evidence of things hoped for. I release, I release, I release, returning to a greater and greater experience of truth over and over again. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amin. Amen. And so it is. Namaste.